We've been tracking the situation in Seattle for a while. Unexplained disappearances, killings. Someone's creating an army.
An army of vampires. They're coming here.
Man, so I finally figured out this is a monster magazine if it was written by... God damn it, why do I keep doing that?
What is it you keep doing?
Okay, I was going to say it's fucked up now. This is a monster movie if it was written by People magazine, because it's just one big soap opera.
Or written by Teen Beat magazine, more like. I mean, come on.
Yeah, it's all Tiger Beat.
Even the movie itself admits it at points.
It's sponsored by Tiger Beat, directed by the CW channel. Leftover scripts from Dawson's Creek.
No, I will say this one. The one thing that actually is done better than the first two, and this is the best of the three, which isn't saying much, is that the direction isn't that bad, but you know what? You can only do so much to polish it.
Well, that's the thing. It's like, look, I always watch these and I go like, look, just because you have a bad book doesn't mean you have to make a terrible movie.
Sure.
Which is what they've been doing. And with this one, I was like, you know what? I can never tell somebody this is good, but at least I'm not bored. Yeah, I'm not pissed off.
They
cleaned it. Moving. Stuff is happening.
They cleaned it up around the edges. They took the shit that was just basically incompetence before.
Yeah.
And they were like, okay, this part we can do at least. I mean, there are werewolves and vampires fighting on the same side versus vampires. You can't make that cool. This guy actually does manage to make that kind of cool. But then you've got to go back to Edward and Bella going, but why can't we do it this way? I want to live forever with you, but I can't live forever with you.
This series will always be the ultimate dick tug-of-war between lycanthrope and vampires. I'm still having to sit and look at these two idiots get just so confused about what they should be doing with their lives with this broad. After this film, I'm really sick of this character, the Bella character. I'm sick and I'm honestly done with it.
There was a point they were together, all three of them together in a tent, and you were like, man, you just need to Eiffel Tower that bitch.
I didn't realize that they also added to this new mythology that once you become a werewolf or a vampire, your dick falls off too in the process.
Well, apparently, they just couldn't be any bigger wimps. They're like, I'm trying to be sensitive by being really aggressive. You're like, this is the dumbest thing ever. Who
if you
acts
think about
this way?
it, okay, look, vampires don't have any blood in them, and where do erections come from? Blood going to your penis. So that's a big problem with Edward. He's all like, well, it's because I'm a vampire and I would hurt you, and we have rules. But it's basically like, look, all right, fine, break me down. I can't get it up.
Well, she keeps asking when he left his shoehorn back in the hotel room, so he's like, I can't have sex.
They are always up in each other's face. It's like, I mean, you got a werewolf and a vampire. You know, when in any other movie, werewolves and vampires be biting and clawing and scratching each other, but these two guys, they get up in each other's face, all snarling, looking at each other, and they stop and they're like, she loves me. No, she loves me. And I'm just like, why don't y'all just start tugging each other?
I know.
It's like, you know what the problem is? These motherfuckers, they don't want Bella. They want each other.
Yeah, I know. That much is so blatantly obvious.
Because, Edward comes up with his tight shirt on, and Jacob comes up with his shirt completely off.
No shirt at all.
He don't believe in that shit.
I know. And I was like, this is the fucking, this is a supernatural gay club right here.
Well, what I don't get is once these guys are around Bella, they're on the fucking verge of tears. And I'm like, really? Well, why does this chicken even want to be with you guys?
It is the kind of thing when you go like, wait, what do they see in her? What does she see in them?
She's boring.
Yeah, she is boring. I mean, she's got no personality.
She's got nothing going for her.
And the thing is, this is a high school girl who has no idea what life is, and she's trying to make big permanent decisions.
You said she's about to make dick decisions.
To me, the biggest problem is
there's a dick in the house.
In all these movies is her father. The fact that he is such, you know what, she goes after these guys because her father is so ineffectual.
Yeah.
He's a sheriff who can't catch a criminal. He mopes around. He can't tell her what to do. It's like, look, little girl, you live in my house. You go by my rules. You're not seeing these boys anymore. That's it.
Is he even a sheriff anymore? Because half the time he's playing Mr. Mom, reading his newspaper.
I think he just wears the outfit and hangs out at his house.
I know. Is this guy crazy too?
has one of those little badges.
Yeah.
A little fake plastic badge you get out of a supermarket.
I was like, is this story taking place in Halloween Town?
Yeah, well, that fool, I mean, no wonder this town is run over by monsters. I mean, every time you see him, he's at home on the couch.
Yeah.
Well,
Hey, Bella, you're coming home again. I don't want you seeing that boy, Bella.
The biggest monster in the whole town lives in his house. I mean, the mythical cock tease. Because didn't you just want to punch her in the face like 7 or 8 times in
she's
this
a
movie
succubus.
and go, I'm sorry, but nobody acts that way without being responsible for what they're doing.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, she actually goes at one point to Jacob right in front of her vampire boyfriend, and she's agreed to marry, and starts mugging down with them.
Oh,
and
yeah.
you're like, you've got to be fucking
Yeah.
kidding me. How do you expect us to have
No,
any sympathy for this
they're
girl?
like, and the sad thing is that there are several scenes like that. I mean, it plagues this movie to death, which is why I really hated it. Because at one point I'm like, okay, I'm willing to believe that there are such things as vampires and werewolves in this world, but looking at this fucking display of just what the fuck is going on with you guys, she's fucking playing with your heartstrings right in front of you. She's making out with you. Then she's going back and making out with the other guy. Then she's coming back, and I'm like, really? Okay, I'm done. I'm done.
Come on,
This is-
you
yeah.
know that was your high school experience.
Fuck.
But the most unbelievable dialogue in the whole thing, though, is when Edward comments that he wishes Jacob would start wearing a shirt. And you're like, yeah, no, you don't.
Yeah. No, this is what we're talking about is Eclipse here. This is the third in the series of Stephanie Meyer's books that deals with gay vampires and
Master
werewolves.
Quadrilogy.
Yeah, in this episode here, there's been this string of killings that is going on in Seattle. And it turns out that the vampire Victoria, I believe, played
Victoria,
by,
yes.
Bryce Dallas Howard. She still has this grudge against Bella, and she's determined to kill Bella because Bella was responsible for Edward killing her boyfriend a long time ago. You know,
It's high school shit from vampires.
Exactly. You see what I'm going with this shit? So
Vampires are known for being douchebags, but this is a little extra douche.
I know
Yeah.
because it ain't. She for 2 movies she's been trying to kill this bitch, and she can't do it. So she's like, fuck it, I'm just gonna go start a whole vampire army to come after this one chick. And meanwhile, you got the other stuff that's happening with Bella. She's about to graduate high school, which means she's getting that much closer to probably marrying Edward and being turned into a vampire herself. And then you have the ongoing love triangle between her, Jacob, and Edward, who, she can't decide who she wants to be with. So what does she do? She does what any other bitch would do. She just keeps pitting them against each other. Like, she should know better. It's like, let's just cut all the werewolf and vampire shit out the picture. I mean, there's things like Edward had just given her a ring saying, I want you to marry me. This is my mom's ring, and I'm a vampire, so this shit is old, okay? I'm giving you an antique. Now, what does she do? She puts on that ring and says, you know what? I'm just going to take this off because I don't want to piss off Jacob. And plus, look, Jacob gave me this really cool werewolf statue bracelet that I want to wear and cock tease you with.
That she found at the fucking 25-cent slot machine.
Man, do you really want to cock tease to the point of tears two supernatural blood-seeking creatures like that?
Well, these you do because they ain't going to do anything.
Right.
Yeah, I mean,
Cry in the rain.
But there's aren't they keep saying, okay, the Cullens are the most powerful vampire clan. They have special powers. They've been around forever. And even the vampire elite in Italy are a little bit weirded out by them, but they're all putting up with this bitch.
It's just odd that the families of the werewolf families and the vampire families would put up with this from these two guys. They'd be like, look, you need to get over her because you're kind of putting everybody in check.
That's the thing about it. I mean, everything that is happening, this chick just shook up their whole world. I mean, the reason why they have a whole vampire army coming after them, the reason why Venturi,
Volturi.
Volturi,
the European vultures.
Whatever, the Venture Brothers, whatever.
Voltron,
the reason why they're coming into town and fucking up the program is because Bella's up there stirring up things. The reason why the werewolves can't get along with the vampires is because Bella's and Bella ain't that fucking hot. I mean, no, Kristen Stewart, she's a good looking chick. She's really on everyday terms, she's
all right.
Let me tell you something. On everyday terms, she's hot. When you get to the level of werewolves and vampires, she ain't that fucking hot.
Edward,
If you ever touch her against her will again,
don't do this.
she's not sure what she wants.
Don't do this
Let me
here.
give you a clue. Wait for her to say the words.
Fine.
And she will.
Jacob, just go, okay?
Hey. Easy, guys. Easy. Let's take it down a notch. All right? What's going on?
kissed Bella.
No, you can't look at
You
it.
watch Popeye versus Bluto fighting over olive oil. Even that, suddenly that makes more sense than this.
You
does.
can't, no matter how hot she may or may not be, you can only look at her with that face that she makes through this whole movie for so long before you're just sick of it. This was written by a Mormon housewife who, no question about it, had a bit of a mission here in the subtext. And the story is really about abstinence before marriage.
And it really shines in this movie. It
this
really
whole
does.
one in particular is really about that. And you're like, when is it? what year is it now? Are really selling this to the masses?
Girls, as far as now that we up to this third movie, so far, if you look at it in the right way, Edward's gay. Edward he ain't wrestling with like, should I turn a human into a vampire? He's wrestling with, when can I come out the gay vampire closet? You know what I mean?
It is that kind of thing where, like, if you just for a second, like, not even joking around, apply that aesthetic to it, suddenly everything makes sense.
Everything.
I'm not joking.
No, I know. That's what I'm saying. Not even as a joke, but like when he, like one of the things I'm not totally negative about this movie because I like the fact that him and Edward and Jacob actually have a conversation where they really talk about things and it actually sort of mature. It's like it's only when Bella's in the conversation that things fall apart.
It really,
two guys talking. It's like, you know what? This is actually kind of cool.
Why didn't we do this a while ago?
exactly.
With that feeling you get from it, and you're like, the only reason we're so mad at each other is because Edward's been dying to tear a piece out of that furry ass for a while now.
Him saying like, you know what? I have to admit, she probably would be happier with you. And what he's not saying is because I'm gay and you're not, and in that way she could have a normal life with kids.
You know what? See in that scene, because really, honestly, and I wasn't making a joke about the gay thing. If it really seems like it's a struggle about homosexuality, because Edward played by Robert Pattinson in this, as everybody knows, he doesn't want her to take off her clothes. He's almost scared to even kiss her sometimes. I mean, he's real nervous around her, and it's only when that Kristen Stewart's Bella character is introduced that this movie becomes annoying. This series has matured to a point where it's still not great. A lot of the acting is bad. A lot of the story is written badly, if you ask me. There's a lot of backstory in this movie, which is I thought it would be cool for them to do backstories into period pieces because they do that. They go to the Civil War in one part. I think they go turn of the century in another part, and those things are not written all that well.
No, they're filmed badly.
And the dialogue is very, very hokey, which makes those scenes not that good.
And as right as you guys are about that, I appreciated that they did it.
Yeah.
It kept it moving, and it made all those characters not just backdrop.
Yeah.
It made me wish that they were going more for the Anne Rice model, where it was like, let's tell a long story about what happened in the past with these more dramatic, more interesting characters, so you really get a feeling for who all these tertiary characters that we've been watching.
Well, but you know what? It seemed like somebody who it seems like she read Anne Rice and wanted to incorporate that.
Yeah, but she was like two paragraphs.
It was so half-assed. Yeah.
Well, I mean,
the other movies had none of that at all.
Well, this movie, this like I say, with this third movie, it seems that at least the story has matured to the point where they've minimalized, not very much, but they minimalized all those parts with the Bella character, Bella Swan. I mean, she is really an annoying character. She's flaky. She doesn't know what she wants. She keeps pitting these guys against each other. That's the main problem with these movies, is that even as they tend to get a little bit better or sometimes worse, I mean, you still have that one constant of a character who's not likable by any standards at all, and she's your central character. But everything else, everybody, even with somebody like what's the guy who plays Jacob? What's his name?
Taylor Lautner.
Taylor Lautner, yeah. Not a very strong actor, but in scenes where you don't have Bella, there are those scenes between like Robert Pattinson and him where they seem like, okay, now they're developing. They're not just like sneering at each other. I wish in that tent, because there's a scene where they are in a tent with Bella and she's asleep and they're looking at each other and they're like, you know what? You're not so bad. You know what? You're not so bad either. I just wish Jacob would have snapped her neck and him and Edward would have just started making out right there.
I know.
She's ruining both these guys' lives. You're like, the best thing they could do is let this Victoria girl rip her to fucking shreds.
Yeah, just let her go. And problem solved. That bitch started the BP oil spill. I mean,
right?
But you know what's good about this? You and I talked about this outside the theater. The action in it is actually directed really well.
Surprisingly good.
That's the only thing I really had going for it.
Was a good thing for this.
Yeah, the director of this is David Slade, and I can see what they're trying to do. They're trying to probably bring in a bigger audience because this is the guy that directed Hard Candy and 30 Days of Night.
Yeah.
So
and he's the one. Here's the big thing that I noticed. You remember in the first two films when they showed them how fast they can run? It's done kind of from a distance, and it's just totally CG. It looks like shit. It's like, wow, that's so fake. This one, he knew that looked dumb, and so he used editing and close-ups and things like that to
It looked
give
like
the
they were running
idea
on
of
shit
running
because
fast.
they're just floating. It's
Like in the last one, the werewolves look fake. The fight scenes with them look terrible. Here, there's a pretty sizable battle scene with the wolves and vampires, and it looks badass.
Well, you know what they did in the last movie? The werewolves looked terrible. They look like teddy bears.
Yeah.
But in this, their scenes, somebody told that computer company, like, look, there's a lot of scenes where these werewolves gonna be in the front of the camera and in the daylight all the time. Don't fuck us like you did last time. And they look good.
They looked improved. I won't say they looked great because
I thought they looked great.
As soon as I honestly didn't. Only because when they're introduced, they still have that kind of weird cartoony look, especially in the face area. But
I thought they did. When they first appeared, I was like, oh, here we go again.
Right.
But the more they were on screen, especially when they got to the battle, I thought they were looking better.
The scene where Jacob in werewolf form next to Bella, I thought that looked cool.
It did.
Yeah.
Well, you know, the reason why I think you and I are seeing the same thing, but just responding to it differently, because you're saying it has a cartoony look. Mm-hmm. I don't see it as cartoony. I see that, okay, they had to, what the hell was that? I see that they had to give these canines, they had to give them human expressions every now and then.
To a certain extent.
Yeah. And they have to react in ways that are not just dog or animalistic anymore. They have to react in human ways. And so, yeah, when they animate the eyes, when they behave like that, it could be, you could either buy it as, okay, these are animals with human personalities, or they don't behave like that. So it's fake.
The moment you put human traits onto a face for any character, no matter how animalistic the rest are, you start getting into the uncanny valley.
Well, I was talking more too about their interaction with the environment. Like when you're seeing them step on rocks, it seems like there's no movement on the ground. Yeah, because I was honestly I pay attention to that too, but. I don't want this to be about let's critique the special effects, but
at the very least, I think we can all agree that it was a big
it was an improvement. Yes, I'll give it that.
And I thought the way he actually filmed the action itself. I mean, there's moments in there you're like, wow, that was a clever series of sort of action choreography going on there in something you could only show in a fight with giant fucking wolves and people in the big.
No, that was
battle,
the one thing I have to, if I'm going to say I liked anything about this film, it's only going to be that and that alone. Because I was like, okay, now you're drawing me into something that's interesting for a guy who's really not involved in the story at all. But that's the unfortunate thing as far as the story goes. I mean, this is like as this series progresses, it's like this chick's take on the whole Beatles thing with Paul McCartney, Yoko Ono, and fucking
I mean, I think that even though they develop more characters in here, the characters that we followed, they introduced some characters that they just handled them poorly, like the newborn, the guy that they had as the newborn leading up the army. That's an actor named Xavier Samuel, and that guy just.
He's got two first names.
Yeah, Xavier Samuel, Jonathan Jingleheimer Schmidt.
He's familiar. He's familiar though. He's that guy we've all known who was being led around by the dick by a crazy chick. Sure. We all know that guy, and that's exactly what they play him as. And it's not so much that he's developed in the movie, so much as they know we're gonna recognize this guy anyway and go, "What a schmuck."
He's fucking. he's Jacob and Edward, another fucking idiot with no dick.
And there are in-jokes, and there are jokes in this film that are very much meta or in-jokes in there. Like when he tells, when they make the joke about, he makes a joke about Jacob never wearing a shirt. Yeah, I bet you that was not in the original script.
But you know what?
Or when Bella tells Edward, or Bella tells Jacob, stay!
Yeah. But you know what? Even though he's making referential jokes about how silly those movies are, I mean, honestly, these three movies still seem to me like they could have been shot by the same person, honestly.
I don't think so at all.
I do. Just because that storyline, it's still bad. The dialogue is still hokey to where I'm like, there's still scenes that are in this movie where I'm like, really, dude? Did you not take a second look at this scene and see why it's laughable?
The problem is,
a scene like that is in the very beginning of the movie where I was rolling my eyes and I'm just like, here we go again.
Well, when the Vulture showed up at the end, I mean, those scenes were so kind of hokey. I was like, really?
I don't know, dude. I mean, it's just so much of it that has to be adhered to the book. I mean, I'll just go ahead and get my rating now. Yeah. You know what? Eclipse last year, to me, that was a big fuck you, the worst movie of the year. To me, this is a rental. I mean, it's almost I want to say almost a matinee. It's a rental. It's if it was a better storyline, sure, but there's a lot of improvements where I didn't mind watching it.
Did we give this a fuck you last year, New Moon?
I did.
I can't remember. I know I didn't give it any higher than some old bullshit or a low some old bullshit if there is such a thing. But you know, you're right. This is actually a rental, which no one is more surprised than me. I mean, that's high praise for a Twilight movie, considering, like I said, half of this is the most tedious, unimaginable tripe. But that's the fault of the original source material. I really can't blame the director for that because he can't cut that shit out. That's what the ladies are coming there to see.
But it just seemed like there was more restraint with this, and it also seemed like, hey, you know, this director said, I know what I'm working on, and that's why I appreciated some of those things, and like that joke where what's his name, Jacob comes in and tells Edward, like, you know, you have no blood, you're cold, I'm hotter than you. You know,
they're little in jokes like that.
They just know that
were funny.
Yeah, that the crowd is playing on that, and they're like, look, we can't take this shit that seriously anymore, so we're gonna throw jokes in there like that. I love things like the guy that plays Jasper in the movie, Jackson Rathbone, who plays
He had a much bigger role.
He had a much bigger role.
It makes sense now.
I like that they tried to develop these characters, even though maybe it didn't always work out because of hokey dialogue. It just seemed like there was a lot more effort put into this. Yeah, and improvements on things like action and special effects too. So yeah, I give it a rental.
All right. Well, I'm honestly shocked that you guys are, giving this a rental because
here we go.
Yeah, I'm giving it some old bullshit only because that last movie there's some little things in there like the whole Jacob trying to deal with him. He's becoming a werewolf. That part of me felt kind of like a superhero-ish type storyline where that's the only thing that attracted me to that last film, which I thought it was okay. But with this one, there was nothing I can grab onto to make me remotely interested in this love triangle that they've built. That still, after a third movie, it still feels like it's gone absolutely nowhere at all.
And also, you only have 2 ratings with the bullshit. you only have bullshit and better than sex.
Well, the thing is, look, but I'm serious. I mean, the thing is, this is bullshit to me because there was nothing really pulling me forward into this story. Like even after this movie ended, I'm like, this series could end right now. And it wouldn't matter because they really didn't give anything besides the marriage angle, which they played on in the last movie. And that's all they really have you. That's when you walk away from this, that's all they're giving you is like, oh, the big marriage. And I'm like, you know what? At this point, I don't give a fuck.
One thing I like about it, maybe it's kind of subtle, is that which I never thought I'd apply the word subtle to one of these movies, is that Edward is constantly telling Bella, look, you don't want to be a vampire. She's like, no, I really do. And he never comes out and says it, but the longer you watch them as vampires and what they go through, it's like, bitch, what's wrong with you?
I'm expecting them to just go off the books and just in the last movie just say, you know what, fuck both y'all, I'm dating Frankenstein.
Right?
It's time.
Yes, it is.